This video is going to be all about debuffs. A lot of bad things can happen to you in Dead by Daylight. You can get drugged by a killer clown, electrocuted by a mad doctor, or puked on by a disease-ridden priestess. And if you don't fully understand what these afflictions are doing to you, you may find yourself in an early grave. So let's talk about them, beginning with blindness. The blindness status effect disables a survivor's ability to see auras. This can make locating allies or objectives difficult, as well as rendering items like maps and aura-based perks useless. Blindness usually wears off after a minute, but there are certain perks and add-ons that can make blindness last until you perform a certain action. Hiding in lockers will also cause blindness until you exit them. It's not a very dangerous debuff unless everyone on your team has it, but that almost never happens, so you can often just ignore it until the duration expires. Next is the broken status effect. This prevents survivors from being healed, which is quite dangerous for a number of reasons. It renders medikits and healing perks useless, makes chases end faster, makes hiding more difficult, and makes rescues riskier. You'll mostly encounter this debuff when facing the play, but there are a few perks and add-ons that can cause it as well. Some of the more powerful survivor perks can also cause it. Unless you're fully infected or have the No Mither perk, you can just wait for the effect to expire and heal yourself after. Otherwise, you'll need to perform a certain action to cleanse it. In any case, I'd recommend playing cautiously until it's gone. The curse debuff can cause a variety of effects depending on the killer's hex perk. Generators may lose progress, skill checks may become harder, and survivors may even be reduced to 1 hit point. While curses are often powerful and unavoidable, they can be removed by cleansing the killer's hex totem located somewhere in the trial. You can use a map or perks like Detective's Hunt or Small Game to make finding totems easier. Sometimes you can ignore hex totems if their debuffs aren't causing you much trouble. But be warned, powerful hexes like No One Escapes Death can activate if totems are left alone. So it can be a good idea to cleanse both active and dull totems to stop the more powerful hexes from taking effect. The Deep Wound debuff will put survivors into the dying state unless they mend before the timer expires. It's more of a stall mechanic than an actual threat, as the timer will pause anytime the survivor is running or mending. You'll often only deal with deep wounds when facing Legion or Deathslinger, but certain perks like Borrowed Time and Soul Guard can also activate it. Apart from forcing you to mend for 12 seconds, Deep Wounds doesn't apply any other effects that would negatively impact your gameplay, so you can play normally, as long as you still have bleed out time left. The Exhausted debuff prevents survivors from using their more powerful abilities. Perks like Sprint Burst, Dead Hard, and Head On won't activate until the exhaustion timer reaches 0. Most of the time, you'll encounter exhaustion after using one of these perks, but some killer perks and add-ons can also cause it. The default cooldown is 40 seconds, and only recovers while walking or standing still. However, there is one exception to that rule. Unhooking a survivor will reset their exhaustion timer, so keep that in mind when you're planning your escape. The Exhausted debuff won't impact your gameplay unless you're being chased. If that's the case, you'll have one less tool at your disposal to help you survive. Consider playing more passively until the cooldown expires. The Exposed status effect causes the killer's basic attacks to instantly down survivors. This is perhaps the most dangerous debuff you can be affected by, but luckily only a few killers, add-ons, and perks can cause it. While you can't always stop the killer from exposing you, you can sometimes outlast the effect by either hiding or looping. If you become exposed and the killer is not Ghostface or Myers, think about what triggered it, and how you can avoid activating it again in the future. The Hemorrhage debuff causes survivors to leave behind blood pools more frequently, making them easier to track. However, many maps have grass patches and dark floor textures that make blood hard to see, resulting in a negligible impact locating survivors. If you're on a map where blood can easily be spotted, you can cleanse Hemorrhage by healing yourself. You can also equip Lucky Break to stop bleeding entirely, but dedicating a perk just to counter this effect seems a little much. The Hindered status effect lowers survivor movement speed until it expires. The power of the slow can vary based on the killer add-on being used, but it's between a 10 and 20% speed reduction. You'll most often encounter this debuff when facing a clown or fretting. Running into gas clouds or dream snares will apply Hindered, making it easier for the killer to catch up to you. If you're suffering from the Hindered debuff, chances are you're probably in a chase. Dealing with it can be tricky sometimes, but a common solution is to drop pallets earlier than you normally would. You'll also need to be careful around loops that you would normally consider safe, as a snare could buy the killer just enough time to land a hit on you. The Incapacitated debuff disables most survivor interactions until it's cleansed. Here's a list of everything it disables, and a list of everything it does not. The only killers who inflict this debuff are the twins, and cleansing it is pretty simple. Get the baby off your back. In most cases, you should be able to remove Victor before Charlotte shows up to try and finish you off, but it's worth noting that you'll suffer the Oblivious status effect until you do so, which will make it harder to tell which direction she's approaching from, so do your best not to blindly run into her. The Madness debuff is exclusive to the Doctor, and causes a variety of effects depending on the survivor's madness level. Here's a list of everything that happens at each level of madness. Most notably, every time a survivor reaches a new tier of madness, they'll scream and reveal the location to the killer, making hiding quite difficult. In addition to the normal effects of madness, the killer can equip add-ons to cause additional ones. Fake pals may spawn, a false tear radius may be heard, and a red stain may appear behind you even when the killer isn't there. Memorizing all the effects of madness will help keep you from falling prey to them, but applying some straightforward tactics can help as well. Equipping the Calm Spirit perk or hiding inside a locker will silence the screaming effect of madness, which is probably its most annoying mechanic, and staying outside the tear radius during Static Blast will keep you from building up madness. The Mangled status effect increases the time it takes for survivors to heal by 20%. This debuff is most often applied by the perk Sloppy Butcher, but almost every killer has an add-on that can cause it as well. There's not too much to say about this debuff. It doesn't affect any other aspect of the game besides healing speed, so it's not that much of a threat. You can counter its effect by using perks like Inner Strength, Second Wind, and Autodidact, all of which allow you to skip the lengthy process of healing. The Oblivious status effect prevents survivors from hearing the heartbeat of the tear radius. It also stops perks that rely on the tear radius from activating. There are only a few killers like Freddy and Demogorgon that can cause Oblivious using their powers, but there are a few perks like Deathbound and Nemesis that can also cause it. Oblivious can be dealt with in a variety of ways. Unlike the killer buff Undetectable, Oblivious still allows you to see the killer's aura and red stain, so detection perks and simply paying attention to your surroundings can help you stay safe from surprise attacks. However, this debuff's ability to render perks like Borrowed Time and Stakeout useless can't really be countered. You'll either have to wait for it to expire, or take calculated risks while affected by it. And finally, we have the Torment status effect. This debuff is exclusive to Pyramid Head, and is applied anytime a survivor walks over his rights of judgment. Survivors who have this debuff will trigger Killer Instinct for Pyramid Head until they're no longer in contact with his trails. They'll also become vulnerable to being teleported to a Cage of Atonement once they're downed. And a lesser effect of Torment is that survivors will be followed by barbed wire that sprouts from the ground, making them easier to track. Torment can only be cleansed by saving an ally from a Cage of Atonement, or being saved from one yourself. You can also crouch walk over Pyramid Head's trails to prevent becoming tormented. By itself, the debuff won't really impact your gameplay. Once you're tormented, all you can do at that point is cleanse it by saving an ally. But like most situations in DBD, it's easier to prevent it from happening than it is to recover from. Hopefully after watching this video, you won't feel tormented by this or any of the other debuffs I mentioned any longer. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for future content.